and gentlemen, and our non-bi friends, it's our event about how can we do the health, mental health promotion to against the gender discrimination and stigma. And we will start about 5 minutes later. So if you are invited to this event, you can make sure if you already fit in the education phone before besides the right side. This is Zongtai Yo. And later, yeah, and later we will begin our event after 5 minutes later. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Let us introduce Professor Liu Xingyuan. She is sharing her experiences in gender equality, and today her topic is gender mainstreaming and nursing education in contemporary Taiwan. So let's welcome Professor Liu Xingyuan.
Thank you, Ifan. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's about time to begin this section of my presentation. Okay. Okay, begin this section of presentation. My name is Xingyan Liu. I'm come from Chang'an University of Science and Technology. On behalf of Taiwan Nurse Association, the subject of my presentation is gender mainstreaming and nursing education. Here on this slide, you can see outline on my presentation. Due to the time limit, I can just report my initial outcome. I will talk about 5 to 20 minutes. I will start on the background of the gender mainstreaming in Taiwan. This slide provides a brief overview from 1995. The United Nations First World Conference on Women called for the gender mainstreaming as a strategy. You can see the slide provide gender quality education aid in 2004. Every university should offer course in gender study and name gender into medical practice, continuing education, and medical nursing accreditation. I will start off on the next issue. What should we talk about gender in health? Everybody knows several studies have criticized the medical professional are gender blind, gender bias, and gender inequality. For an example, uterine less stress made sensational news in Taiwan. That means the hysterectomy is so common, and all women in the village have no uterus. And the name excessive medication, women health autonomy are widely discussed. This slide provides a brief gender mainstreaming and the nursing in the first stage among KMU of gender study. We call the GIGS, integrating people into medical nursing and integrating gender in medicine education. Next, we turn on the first stage among GIGS based on the spirit of feminist theory and practice in 2001. It is the only graduate school of gender study in the medical university in Taiwan. And the name Gender Medicine and Technoscience is one of the 2 focus areas of their teaching and research. Next, we will introduce my study. The study is a David method to construct a gender competence index of health professional educators in Taiwan. This study was divided to a step. use a 6-step curriculum development, and the name. We revised the national gender competency indicator for higher school in Taiwan, and the name apply 3-round David method. We recruit 7 experience from nursing, gender education, and sociology. Next, we report the result of this study. In this slide, we can find total 18 gender indicator in this study, and the name the slide on right, you can see the result from the all of indicator. Next, we can see the integrating gender into mediation is another issue. The first question we should think what should be told. The slide provide high rate of harassment and discrimination when seeking health care, and then the guiding for undergraduate medical education on SGM in 2014 in American medical school. The next slide provide another issue for gender-friendly medicine care in Taiwan. The next slide, I will introduction an example in CGUST. This course design 3 objective. One is reflecting gender role of self, social stigma situation, and gender relation. Also, formatting value of respect for multi-dimension gender correct. Finally, gender analysis of healthcare workplace. The teaching strategy divide reading of gender textbook and service learning 12 hours. We can see the feature, the process of learning, the process of learning among nursing students was divided 3 stages. One is touch the boundary, also boundary wandering and self-negotiation. The finally is boundary losing or consolidate. We can see the file and after some discussion.
女孩与瓶中信，一片片浪花积成一面大海，瓶中信在汪洋中漂泊，找不到靠岸，无法诉说心里的秘密。女孩看见瓶中信，想知道瓶中的秘密，却被大浪打得越来越远。海浪的声音，
他们只会放社会上混乱的，两脚开开赚钱呐。他们都自甘堕落、不求上进的女人，为什么这么多人出来抗议废娼呢？性地，娼妓是完全不必要的存在。爱名牌，大量扫黄可以维持社会的治安。这边改革形态，让自己陷入难看的处境。我最亮更小。第一届，
他们说的是我吗？因为这些声音让女孩们心中的天平倾斜，偏向了普遍对于性工作者的看法。虽然有这些声音，但女孩觉得可以尊重他们。 所以女孩重新调整心中天平的位置。于是女孩穿越层层的阻碍，小心翼翼地拾起瓶中信，窥探瓶中信里的信。一个不同于女孩的世界，陌生人的故事。故事是这样的：台湾有一些女性遇到生命困境时，性工作便成为她们找寻存活的一种方式。像日日春这样的植物，有着坚强的韧性和生命力。故事中提到妓女联合国，所以我们有了这样的想法：世界的另一头有这样的工作，原来性也可以是一种工作。这地方帮助我们对性工作者有另一层不同的认识，让我们审思是否应该用职业去判断一个人，对这份工作有另一层不同的体会。除了原本有的尊重外，更多了性工作者的接受度，并打破了我们对性产业的传统思想。但我们的疑问是，废娼后难道不能够转行吗？他国可以合法，为什么我们不行？这个协会到底能帮助他们什么？就让我们一探究竟吧。女孩与
Okay, let's summarize the video as follows. This is a team of students including 17 males. In the course, they choose the NGO, the name, the sex, the collective of sex and support. Students imply Taiwan tradition table by their final report. The name, the message is in a bottle. This is very interesting. Students were most impressed by experience early stage of cross-boundary when they were in self-learning periods. They were also impressed by the stigmatization of people to consider students as suspects of sex works. Okay.
女孩与瓶中信。
Okay. And another example among CGEST among master's degree students. This slide presents a final presentation about lesbian health, sex health. If we have time, we can see the file. So we see a next slide. Another issue in the final presentation from students is friendly medical environment. Another we can go through the challenge and the future perspectives. The slide show my program as the funding and the title and the duration, and the name the result published the book. You can see the book in the gender innovation. The other challenge and the future perspective is the global views and the international participant. We divide 3 parts. One is role model, also improves English ability and activity involved in international conference. The slide pride my role model is my teacher Wang Xiuhong. The next, a quick summary by gender sensitivity in healthcare with SDG. SDG 5 say achieve gender equality and empower all women and girls. So we can go through and go through and work hard in the topic. So thank you for your time and attention. Okay. So
Okay. Thanks for Professor Liu Xingyuan and thanks for the Taiwan Nurse Association. They presented how they combine the mainstream education about the gender mainstream and the nursing education. And now, when we discuss about the gender mainstream, now we want to talk about someone who's not mainstream, someone who's minority in Taiwan. And now we will welcome Feng Yifan, who served in the Hamri Association, and he can introduce himself. But the Hamri Foundation in Taiwan only work for people who live with HIV, the homeless people, or some migrant worker, or some migrant worker who's not contact with, in our official government. And when their children come, and there are also some issue. And now let's give Feng Yifan a big hand and welcome his speech.
Okay, hello. I'm Yifan. I'm from Hong Kong, Taiwan. And today I would like to introduce the current situation of the migrant worker and their children. So let me share my screen. One second. Okay.
Microphone.
Okay.
Your microphone.
Okay. Okay. So I'm Yifan Feng, and I would like to introduce the current situation of migrant workers and their non-resident children. Okay, so let me introduce our organization first. Honey Home Taiwan is a non-profit organization founded by Ms. Nico, who began to help and shelter people who living with HIV since 1986. And then we commit to provide shelter, care, treatment, access, and support people living with or affected by HIV/AIDS, migrant workers, and foreigners with difficulties. And so that's our service. So, okay, let's break the topic. So now in Taiwan, we have more than 50,000 undocumented migrant workers, and comparative total, it is around 700,000 in Taiwan now. So it's not a small number in Taiwan that undocumented migrant workers are very, they are the number is very high. And this is the microfilm which is sponsored by Taiwan Mobile Foundation in 2021. And you can search the topic, the name of the film, Invisible Children, in YouTube. It is about 7 minutes length. So if you have time, you can check it if you have time. So let's go into the main issue of the migrant mothers. What's the difficulties of the migrant mothers? We can separate the migrant worker mothers into two categories, which the first one is documented one, and the second one is undocumented. So if the migrant mothers are documented, they have legal residency, and they share the same healthcare and insurances in Taiwan. For example, they have the national health insurances, and they can share the whole coverage of the COVID-19 response in Taiwan. For example, they can buy a face mask in the beginning of a pandemic, and also they can be vaccinated according to our system online provided by our CECC. But if they are undocumented, that means they don't have the legal residency, so they are illegal to stay in Taiwan. Thus, so they are not covered by the healthcare and insurances, so they don't have the national health insurances. So it's very hard or very difficult for them to assess for every kind of healthcare. And about the COVID-19 response, the undocumented migrant workers, there's some ambiguous situation for them, because in the beginning, they cannot, in the beginning of the pandemic, they cannot access to the face mask distribution, because we use the national health insurance card to apply or buying those face masks. So if they are undocumented, they cannot buy the face masks in the beginning. But later on, once the face mask is sufficient for everyone in Taiwan, everyone can buy everywhere in Taiwan. So they can buy face masks eventually. But at the beginning, they are insufficient of the face mask. Vaccine also, because the vaccine is not sufficient, is insufficient in the beginning of the outbreak in 2021 in Taiwan. So they are not including in the list of vaccination. But later on, our government do provide the vaccination for those undocumented migrant workers to be vaccinated. So how the migrant worker mothers become or become within these difficulties, that's because migrant workers are not undocumented in the beginning. Maybe they ran away from their employers, or maybe they have some problems. So they decide to work underground. So they become undocumented migrant workers. So that means they will lose, or their residency will be canceled. So once their residency is canceled, so that they are not qualified for the national health insurances. So they have no insurances in Taiwan. And once they are pregnant unexpectedly, so they will pay a lot of money if they go to the hospital. So if they are not earning enough money, So their income cannot afford their high expenses in the healthcare settings. So that will endanger the baby if they decide to having baby underground or privately. So that's the issue that migrant workers' mother will face if they run away from their employers. So as I mentioned that their income is not very high. So this chart is, you can see in its chart that for Taiwanese citizens that our lowest full-time salary is $25,250 every month. And the other, I mean, in the factory or care center, the migrant workers, they share the lowest full-time salary with Taiwanese citizens. But for those migrant domestic workers, they only earned around 17,000 every month. And also Taiwanese citizens and some migrant workers, they share the labor insurances in Taiwan. So if they are getting ill or they have injured during their working time, they will be paid. But for those migrant domestic workers, they are not included in the labor insurances. They have to, their employers have to buy some other insurance for them. But we don't know that the insurances will cover the same situation with the labor insurances. So that's ambiguous situation. So also for the national health insurances, for these three categories are all covered by the national health insurances. So you can see the low salaries that if the migrant worker mother or the domestic workers, they will only earn 17,000 every month. And it includes the fees that they pay for the brokers. So the main issue of the migrant worker mothers and their children, then we can separate the children into documented and undocumented too. And if we find the children that is undocumented, children undocumented, that means their mother might be undocumented and also, or unknown, because once we find a baby or children, sometimes we cannot know, we could not know who are their mothers. So the social welfare department will investigate who are their mothers or their fathers. So if their parents are being found, so that we will make sure that, oh, it's the children's mother or father is a undocumented migrant worker. So that's, we will provide the temporary residency for the children for to stay in Taiwan until they live with their mothers. So, but the children in Taiwan face some problems because for those documented migrant workers and their children, they are legal to stay in Taiwan. But if the children's parents are undocumented, in theory, theoretically, they are not legal to stay in Taiwan. But as we pursue the children's rights protection, so we will provide temporary residency to those undocumented migrant worker children, so they will become legal temporarily to stay in Taiwan. And also we will temporarily provide the coverage of the national health insurances for those children if they've been filed and registered to the government But the biggest problem or the hardest situation is that no matter the children are documented or undocumented, the daycare for those children are very difficult. Since those migrant workers are mainly working in the factory, construction site, care center, or their mother or parents will be domestic workers, their parents are usually busy in working, so they have no place to put their children or find someone to taking care of them. So the caring services for those children is very, very big problem. So it is on the waiting list for us to solve this problem. Also, the education is the same as the care services, because our government or our society didn't expect that the migrant worker will stay longer enough to having baby or having children that they will go to school. So our government or our society didn't prepare for that. Though our government provide basic education chances for those children. So if the children were registered, they can go to school, but it need to show up in the services. So as for the COVID-19 response, the documented children can access to the COVID-19 response, like the vaccination or face mask. But if the children are undocumented, that will be a problem because we even don't know where they are. So it is very hard for us to provide such response or service to those children. So let's break down more details about the difficulty to access healthcare services for those mothers, migrant worker mothers and those children. The first one is that the mother, they don't have sufficient health knowledge because maybe it's due to their basic education in the homeland, or it is not our education in Taiwan is not that realized, because sometimes they just see video types or see YouTubes for those migrant workers when they come into Taiwan. So it's not enough. And another thing, situation is that if they are undocumented, they are not included or covered by the national health insurances. So since they just have very little money, so they cannot afford about the high cost of their health care. So that will make them not willing to go to the hospital. And the third reason is that they want to hide from the government because they don't want to be caught by the authority. So they will avoid to go to some place that people will check their identity or nationality. And the last reason is that they have low confidence on the care system because they think the care system is not friendly to those migrant workers. So they will avoid to go to hospital clinic, or reduce their frequency to go to hospital and clinics. So also the difficulty of the caring children, that is because they have too low income, so they cannot afford for the care services because it charge very high for even Taiwanese citizens. So let alone that they are migrant workers, they still pay the same amount of money to access the care service. And the second is that if the parents are busy working, so the children, they have no place to put their children. Maybe they just take the children with them, so they will forget or have some chances to provide food or nutrition to the children. And the third is that because the parents are busy working, so they don't have time to focus on the care of their children, and also they have no time to be aside with their children. So there were some problems that slow development, and also the children need more care or more accompanying. Yeah. So what Harmony Home provides, that we provide 24-hour care. In Nangang and Kaohsiung, we can shelter it's 66 children maximum, and it's 24-hour, 365 days every year. And we also help the children access to healthcare setting, because some children come to a place, they are under low development, they are too late to speak, or they have no reaction to other adults language or speaking. So we have to help them to access to the healthcare settings. And also we help them to go to school and other education settings, because some children are old enough to go to school. So we will help them to go to school. And the third, it's the same. And next, that we will help the mother if the mother come to our place, if they are pregnant. So we will help them to get examination about their situation, or also the baby. And also we will help the migrant worker mothers and children if they are living outside our place, because some mother decided to care their children in person. So all we can do is support their living necessity. So we provide the milk formula, the diapers, some food, or if they want to get vaccinated, so we will transfer to the local care center, healthcare center. So that's what we can do if they decide to live in Taiwan, outside of our place. And not only Harmony Home Taiwan, the social welfare department also help those children to transfer to our places and provide some funding to our institute. And also the Indonesian authority helped the undocumented children to settle in Indonesia, because some undocumented children are waiting to go home with their mother. So the Indonesian authority will help them to go back to their homeland. And also we are supported, get support from other CSO and MPOs. But in COVID-19 pandemic, in this period of time, the pandemic amplifies the difficulties. For example, because of the transportation, the children cannot go home during the pandemic, because no flights, no plans are flying during the worst severe situation in 2020. And the tickets also very high for those children and mother to go home. So that makes those children are more likely to stay longer with their residency in Taiwan. So that in this situation, they are no healthcare insurances, no care services. So the children are more affected because of the shaken support system under the pandemic. Because our support system are focused on the prevention of COVID-19, so some resources were not notice that these children's need. Okay, so what's next that we can do is that we will have the National Human Rights Commission to do some investigation about the situation of migrant workers. And also we will launch a survey to investigate the situation of the mental and sexual and reproductive health of the female migrant workers. And also we continue to support the migrant mother and children. And also the last thing is that we will try to provide COVID-19 and HIV prevention and education. So that's my prevention, my presentation, yeah.
Yes, one question is the program is the knowledge or just the process?
Well, that will be two parts. Two parts that because in our working experiences that they have know enough sexual and reproductive health, the knowledge of these parts, we guess, not because we didn't prove that, only because we guess that the education in Taiwan, because when the migrant workers come into Taiwan, their employers or the brokers will provide some education, especially for their health and care. But in our experiences, that they only use video for those migrant workers to have a lesson. So I think that's enough or not deep enough for them to take care of themselves if they face this problem when they are pregnant. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks for Ifan's presentation. Could you please share the pic about you and Professor Xingyuan?
Okay, wait a second.
In list agenda one, we discussed about the nursing education, and when discussing about the minority people when they come into when they want to contest some medical care or even some social care. We have discussed about the health, and the health inequality is not only about the physical health. We are talking about Professor Liu Xingyuan, who's from the Taiwan Nursing Association. He's trying to assess to us how can we educate or develop a healthcare worker during the nursing education and inclusive about the gender mainstream. And Ifan from the Hamri Foundation, they share their experience. How can someone who is undocumented or some when we say illegal worker or children whose illness can they access the healthcare, the Medicare, or can the healthcare providers offer their care they need? It's all about the health situation. It's all about the SDG when we say the social well-being. So the medical, the life, we have to live and we have to live and we can do more advocacy, more advocate. And agenda one, we discuss about the gender mainstream and the minority. And next part, I will could if I share the picture of the agenda 2, we will invite the Du Sichen from Taiwan Tongji Hotline, who's LGBT Taiwan's biggest and oldest LGBTQ association in Taiwan, to share about the survey about the Taiwan LGBT youth their survey. This is the first time we do this quarantine survey. And in my part, Taiwan IC Association, we are trying to share how we keep coming with the youth and how we do some civil action to against the gender discrimination or against the HIV stigma, to against all of it. And would Ifan can share my slide, because okay. And I will invite Du Sichen. Let's welcome the share from the Tongji Hotline. So Du Sichen he will share the school climate survey on LGBT students in Taiwan. And now let's welcome Du Sichen.
OK， 我先吗？对。你的这个正在分享中，等一下。
Okay, let's proceed. Because today our has some problem in the system issue. But very honored to invite. Okay. Otherwise,
Okay. Hi everyone. Can you hear me now? 一凡听得到吗？可以哈 ，OK， 好 ，OK， so hi everyone and thank Yo-Yo for inviting me. So hi, my name is Shang Sichen Du and I'm from the Taiwan Tongji Hotline Association. And so as Yo-Yo mentioned, so Hotline was founded in 1998 and is now the largest and the longest national LGBTQ organization in Taiwan. So as you know that Taiwan is seen as like the most like progressive country in Asia. So like in 2004, we passed the Gender Equity Education Act. And in 2019, we have the same-sex marriage. So although we have such like progressive laws in Taiwan, but Hotline, we are still like deeply concerned about like whether LGBTQ teenagers indeed feel equal and accepted in their school. Because in our work experience, we have continued to hear many stories about LGBTQ teenagers being discriminated against and bullied. So in order to explore the real school experiences of LGBTQ teenagers in Taiwan, so in 2020, Hotline collaborated with GLASON, an LGBTQ plus education organization based in the US, in conducting an online survey among LGBTQ plus students in junior high schools, senior high schools, vocational high schools, and in year 1 to 3 in a 5-year junior college, and completed the first ever report on LGBTQ plus students' school experiences in Taiwan. So teenagers were eligible to participate in this survey if they were at least 13 years of age, attended a primary or secondary school in Taiwan during the 2019 to 2020 school year, and identified as lesbian, gay, bisexual, or a sexual orientation other than heterosexual, or describe themselves as transgender or us having another gender identity that is not cisgender. Okay. So the data collection occurred between July and September 2020. In order to reach more LGBTQ students across Taiwan, we promoted the survey on our official website and in our newsletters, as well as on our Facebook and Instagram page. We also purchased advertisements on social media platforms and invited civil organizations as well as friendly teachers and students to share information about this survey. So you can see the final sample consists of a total of 1,226 students between the age of 13 and 21. Students came from most regions of Taiwan, with the exception of Matsu Island. But like most of them, like 74.3% comes from the 6 biggest cities in Taiwan. Okay. So this is the basic information about the participant. So you can see that 53.3% are assigned female and 46.7% are assigned male. And we also have 0.7% are intersex. And for the gender identity, you can see that around 70% are cisgender, and we also have like 6.9% are transgender. For the sexual orientation, like over half are gay or lesbian, and we also have bisexual, pansexual, asexual, and like questionings. Okay, and this is also about the school levels. So you can see that I must say that it's a pity that we still have more of the participants are from the junior high school and senior high school, but less are from the junior college and vocational high school. Okay, so we asked questions about their personal characteristics and safety. And for LGBTQ students, we must say that school is not a place where they can feel safe. So this study found out that 35% of the respondents had felt unsafe at school because of their sexual orientation, while 24% had felt unsafe due to their gender expressions. While LGBTQ students feel unsafe at school, they may choose to avoid specific spaces such as like swimming pool and bathrooms or activities. And when LGBTQ students encounter unfriendly languages such as anti-LGBTQ+ and sexual discriminating remarks, they are likely to find school as a hostile environment. This survey found out that 41.9% of the respondents frequently or often heard the word gay being used in a negative way at school. And 87.2% say that hearing the word gay being used in a negative way bothers or distresses them. So when similar homophobic remarks occurred, 40% of students stated that teachers and school staff never intervened, even when they were present. So more than 2/3, which is like 78.5% of students, ever point out that they've heard homophobic remarks made by teachers, school staff members, and drill masters. So with regards of negative languages about gender expressions, more than 36.4% of the students saying that they frequently or often heard negative languages about gender expressions at school. Similar to homophobic languages in most situations, neither other students nor school staff and teachers intervene when hearing such remarks. Furthermore, 74%, which is nearly 3/4 of students, pointed out that they've heard negative remarks about gender expressions made by teachers and school staff. So in addition to biased languages, factors that make LGBTQ students feel unsafe at school also include direct harassment and assault. So in this survey, 62% of respondents say that they had experienced verbal harassment, such as humiliation, insults, taunts, and threats because of their sexual orientation, gender identity, or gender expressions. So over half of LGBT students had been verbally harassed based on the way they express their gender. More than 2/5 of LGBTQ students were verbally harassed at school based on sexual orientation, and over a quarter of LGBTQ students were verbally harassed at school based on their gender. And with regards to physical harassments, nearly 1/5 of LGBTQ students, which is like 17%, has been physically harassed, like shoved or pushed at some point at school during the past year based on any personal characteristics. Students experience physical harassment based on their gender expression more commonly than physical harassment based on sexual orientation or based on gender. So, and LGBT students were less likely to report experiencing physical assaults, such as like punched, kicked, or injured with a weapon at school than verbal or physical harassment. Nevertheless, there are like 4.3% of students in our survey were assaulted at school during the past year regarding their LGBTQ identity. So overall, LGBTQ students were mostly likely to encounter different types of harassment and assault because of individual gender expression followed by sexual orientation and gender. In our survey, we also asked students how often they experienced these other types of events in the past year, including like being deliberated, excluded, being the target of mean rumors related to LGBTQ identity, sexual harassment, deliberately damaged property, and cyberbullying. So you can see this figure just shows about the result. And nearly half of the LGBTQ students in our survey had felt deliberately excluded or left out by other students. And more than a third had rumors or mean lies told about them at school. And 14% of LGBTQ students reported experiencing this type of harassment in the past year, and 2.2 had experienced it frequently or often. Okay. So we also asked about the school policies and practices. Are they discriminatory? So nearly a quarter of LGBTQ students experiences at least one LGBTQ-related discriminatory policy or practice that we asked about. Some of the most common forms of discrimination that LGBTQ students reported were like being unable to wear certain clothing based on gender, being unable to use the school bathroom aligned with the student's gender, being unable to use the school locker room aligned with the student's gender, and being disciplined for public displays or of affection that are not similar disciplined when involving non-LGBTQ students, which means that so for straight students, they can have a relationship, but for LGBTQ students, they are forbidden. Okay, so also this survey further discovered that compared to cisgender students, transgender students were more likely to feel unsafe because of their gender appearance, gender identity, and gender expression, and thus to avoid using gender binary spaces and facilities at school, such as bathroom and swimming pool. They were also more likely to miss more days of school due to feeling unsafe or uncomfortable. Meanwhile, transgender students were more likely to experience harassment and assaults of a higher degree or a more severe nature. With regard to discriminating school policies and practices, transgender students were more likely to be prohibited from using bathroom and locker rooms aligned with their gender identity. Oh, sorry. Okay, so in this study, we can observe that harassment and assault at school, as well as discriminating school policies, have negative impact on LGBTQ students' well-being and self-esteem. So among the respondents who had experienced discriminating school policies and practices, more than half, which is 56.3% of them, showed a higher degree of depression. In comparison, fewer than 38.8% of the students with no such experience suffer from a higher degree of depression. And anti-LGBTQ plus victimization and discrimination were also associated with lower level of self-esteem among LGBTQ students. For example, among those who experienced lower level of victimization based on gender expression, over half demonstrated positive self-esteem. So in contrast, among those who experienced higher level of victimization, only 2/5 demonstrated positive self-esteem. Okay, so overall speaking, for LGBTQ plus students, harassment and assault at school, as well as discriminating school policies, can lead to a less friendly school climate, more negative academic outcomes, and compromise well-being. So, because this survey contains a lot of like questions, so I only select some part of them. So, we also asked some questions about like the friendly and like supportive resources in school. So, in this presentation, I share with you about the supportive teachers and school staff. So you can see in this figure, so supportive teachers and school staff is a very important resource for LGBTQ students. As being able to have a conversation with adults that care about them at school has positive impact on students' learning experiences. So in the survey, most, which is 92% respondents, were able to name at least one teacher or staff member they found supportive of LGBTQ students. But fewer than half reported there were several supportive teachers and staff members at their school. So in addition, when asked about how supportive their principal and directors of school offices were of LGBTQ students, only slightly more than 1/4, which is 27% of students say that the principal and directors of school offices at the school were supportive. And in this figure, you can see that when there were more teachers and school staff members being supportive of LGBTQ students, students were less likely to feel unsafe because of sexual orientation and gender expression. And they will feel that the whole student body are accepting LGBTQ people, and they feel like a higher level of school belonging. Okay. And they also show a higher self-esteem and a lower degree of depression. Yeah. So here comes the conclusion. So I must say that most of the conclusions are really sad. Yeah. Okay. So first, LGBTQ students do not feel safe in their school environment in our survey. And biased languages are prevalent, and not only from students, but also from teachers and other school staff members. And we also see that in my presentation, so hostile school experiences have impact on students' well-being and academic performance. So in our presentation, we also see that teachers and school staff provide insufficient support. And that will goes to the effects of obtaining school resources and support. So when there were more teachers or school staff members being supportive of LGBTQ students, students were less likely to feel unsafe, as I mentioned. They also show a higher self-esteem and lower degree of depression, as I also mentioned. So to summarize the aforementioned findings in general, there is still great room of improvements in terms of school experiences of LGBTQ students in Taiwan. When schools are equipped with supportive teachers and staff members, diverse and inclusive curriculum resources that include LGBTQ issues, inclusive and supportive school policies, as well as supportive student clubs, it can help them build a more positive school environment for LGBTQ students. So that is our, goal. So we will continue to fight for it. So that's my presentation, and thank you. And I'm looking forward for your feedbacks and questions.
Okay, thanks, Sean, Sherilyn. It's very sad we hear the news from the LGBT youth in their school experience, and it's not it's harmful and not very supportive, and it's well against our youth their mental health, and without mental health there's no health. While we discuss about health, it means the physical health, the mental health, and the social well-being. And since in Taiwan now, the school environment not very friendly to the LGBTQ student, and that's how we can do other action and advocacy. And next would Ifan please share my slide. And yeah, in our first agenda, we discussed about the medical and the nursing education. And the second part, Sean and me, we will discuss about the youth. And my topic is about the youth civil action against gender and as discrimination in Taiwan experience. Yeah. And thanks again for the NGO CSW for our application, and thanks for the Taiwan Gender Week support. In our journal, we will discuss about the mental health promotion against gender discrimination and stigma. And the next slide, and I will introduce why I will do this project. And yeah, and you can see I'm the co-founder of Taiwan HIV Story Association. I work with the people who live with HIV, and also I'm a researcher of Taiwan IC Association. We do a lot of action with the young people, with the high school student, with junior high school student, and keep coming with them. And very long, I work for I'm a sub-investor for the Taipei Youth Volunteer Center. I domain and do the research for the Ministry of Education, and that's why I have a lot of chance to do this project with the student. Our project means thinking youth, ending S, thinking youth, ending stigma. Okay, the next slide. And what we do, next. When you can see when the public discuss about the private property, and there are some men, some boy, they will say, hey, why the government didn't also fund for the Camden, or why did the government also fund for the men? Okay, and the next, while discuss while discuss about the sex video leak, and when some guys will say it's the girls deserve it if the girl want to break up, and the boy have a right to let other boys know the girl is so shame, is so awful. And to my surprise, this discussion on the on website still on it, and we already call the police, and they lock down this article. And next, okay, on the left side you can see the UN Women's the survey. In United States, 2 out of every 10 girls usually got the language online abuse. That's about sometimes about the body shaming, sometimes about discuss about their face, discuss about their anything. And in the right side is 他我可以 is in Taiwan's topic, Taiwan's thing called manga. And one day I discussed with the young girls, why don't you get angry? And the young girls say, why should I get angry? It's just our girls' normal daily life. You have to take it easy, yo. If you get angry every day, and you cannot live anymore. So I'm wondering if a girl or youth, they are in this kinds of unsafe environment, full of the gender discrimination, full of all kinds of gender stigma. How will they be happy? And so we want to do more. Okay, next. And you can say, this is not only about gender. When we talk gender, not only the girls. This is about an anti-gay organization. They have a red umbrella action. They say no to the gay blood. In 4 years ago, let's say you should not let the gay people can get blood donation, and because the red umbrella. Okay, next year we had also the people who live the community also have the feedback for the action. Okay, next year we have so lots. We have people who live with HIV. We come out to public. We want to say you have a red umbrella. So okay, the next year we also have the umbrella in the Taiwan's biggest the Pride Pride March. The people who live with HIV or someone supports the HIV community. Everybody gets a red umbrella. We want to refresh the image. You say no to gay blood. We say, okay, umbrella should come, U equals U, and umbrella should means everybody can under the protect, not to against the protect. Okay, next. And what we do, we have so different. We have girls angry. We have the people, the people who live with HIV community. We have LGBTQs, different anger or different stigma or discrimination. And how can we do? And next, we do some little change. Okay. We have the lesson about the student. We have lesson to the youth student to discuss what is discrimination. Because the youth, the girl, the LGBT say, let's just normal daily life. It's not discrimination. They just treat me like I'm a bad girl. They just treat me like I'm deserving. They just treat me like I don't have the right to be normal. So we spend a lot of time to discuss about what is discrimination. It's sometimes about your identity. It's sometimes about your age, your color, your body, or your occupational. And after this kind of lesson, we have many groups of discussion with students, with the youth, and the next. So also combine the 108课纲 in Taiwan, or we will say the 2019 the 12 years best education program. When in Taiwan now we have the civil education and the service learning in from the junior high school to the senior high school. Even some college also in NTU, also in Chang'an, also have the service learning. When try to force students or when try to lead students to do some volunteering, and in this project, we try to make the in the past time when we discuss about the volunteering, they will say, okay, you try me to pick up the trash, you made me to go to the library to read the book. But this last 2 years, we try to discuss with the youth, could we have some new models of volunteering? Could we do some advocate for a new kind of volunteering? Yes, thank you. And yeah. Through the daily experience, we empower and discuss with the health inequality, gender inequality, and we ask the student to reflect their feeling, their thoughts, why how do they observe, how do they find, and some youth will feel anger, and some youth will feel sorry. I don't know, you have bad feeling about that, and someone to face it. So they try to put the advocate to normal daily life, because we don't have march every day. We don't have a gay pride every day. We don't have the women's march every day. But we have to into daily life, normal daily life. We need to do some change. So for this student, the YDA offer about $1,000 funding for the youth volunteering. They can application for the money to do some their project, and to do their volunteering, to do their survey, and also they can have some civil action. Okay, and next. Thank you. Okay. Would you show this picture? Okay. After this, because some of my students, some of my youth is the medical student, nursing student. So people say the youth, let's say they hate the elder lady. I need to quote, they hate the elder lady because they think some say the elder lady is so annoying, the elder lady is so louder, they don't like the elder lady. And so we have tried to have some action, and we recruit the elder people and the medical student, the nursing student. We try to make them work together, not someone serve others. They work together to have some design and advocacy, because we also see gender is not only about the gender issue. Sometimes it will have a lot intersectionality, gender and action. Okay, next. And also, they do. And after this project, the people say, oh, okay, now I don't hate the elder people. I don't know, it's we don't solve the problem, but we try to they understand each other and do something. Okay, next picture. And this slide is some girls. In Taiwan, I don't know sure in your experience, but in Taiwan, many girls, they are told you are a girl, so you have to listen. You don't have to speak. Speak is the thing for boy. Girl have to listen. So many girls or many girls, they say they don't like to share their experience, or they don't like to speak in public. But because last year, because of the COVID pandemic, we have some online discussion. And when you don't have to say show your face, or you don't have to show you are a boy or girl, they would like to share. And they have many good experience and good thoughts and good reflection. But if they are identified, hey, you are a girl, and they do not they do not dare to share again because they were afraid of unsafe environment. Okay, next slide, thank you. And in this slide, we have the gender and the gender issue and the dropout youth. The high school student or the junior high school student didn't go to the school campus. They have many reasons, and the student and the youth, they found the gender issue is not only about the man, girl or boy, or only about around the gender. It's also around your income, your family member, your income, who you live, what you are. It's so different. So let's have another online small community to discuss and to share. And after that, they do a website to advocate about the dropout student, job use. And the next slide, thank you. Okay, this is a little different. This is about gender and indigenous people. Many of our indigenous people students, indigenous youth, they don't dare to say they are indigenous people because they were afraid many kind of stigma. But if they don't have to show their face, you can see they share many experience they face about their gender, about gender, about their races, and about their experience with the mainstream. So we found, okay, next slide, thank you. This is another also about the elder. We talk about the gender and the property and the gender and the transportation or living environment. Because in Taiwan, many elder lady live alone. Maybe many reasons, but also they are not in a good health situation. But the student, they do some survey and they want to know how can we do and maybe what's the next step. During these all kinds of the civil education, the civil actions, they try to against the discrimination or stigma, or they try to figure out what's wrong to the people, what's wrong to the community. Okay, next. And this is another. This is a true story from one of my friends, and he's people who live with HIV. Every New Year Eve, when he got reunion with his family, he don't dare to eat with family member because his sister will say, "Hey, you are people with HIV. You should not eat with us." And this story, every time when I share the HIV stigma or discrimination, I share this true story, and I found that true story can affect people. For youth taking action, like during survey, they will be strong and louder together in their normal daily lives. Because we help advocate the action is in every normal daily life, because stigma and gender discrimination is also every day. So we want to show our students, show the youth, you have the power, you can do it, you can face it. Okay, next, please. Okay, so every time I will have this kinds of reflection on action, I will ask the student, why would I want to be involved in this civil action to against the gender inequality, to against the discrimination, and what effect would this action bring to me and to my society or to my people around me, and how may I grow in this action in event, and what kind of follow-up may there be? Because in the old times, when they say service learning or the volunteering time, they will think it's my parents or my teacher ask me or force me to do it. But in our civil action, they begin to be the actor. They want to do it. They want to face it. They do it for their family. They do it for themselves. They do it for their friend. They are not be forced. They have their own objectives. Okay, next. Okay. Let's the word from one use. Let's not their own business. We have responsibility to solve the discrimination and stigma because she's my grandma, because the LGBT is my friend, because I knew someone who is people who live with HIV, because I'm a nursing I'm a nurse student. One day when I go to the hospital, when I am provide the healthcare, I hope I can provide the Medicare and the supportive. So from this civil action, we try to keep coming with the youth from the empathy to the effective education. When they effective, let's not other things, let's their own things. And we hope we can lead the student, the youth to see the different, from the different to the inclusive, because we all live in this Taiwan society. So they are not others. You cannot say, I don't want to figure with them because they are around you. And from this action, I saw that student or the youth, they try to from no to awareness. And after all, they will realize. And then they will practice by their own. Not because we force them to do it, because that is their normal daily life. We can eliminate discrimination or gender stigma right now, but we hope and we should take action now. This is also spoken by my one of the youth. We hope we cannot finish all this stigma or discrimination, but we can by the civil action, we can develop more inclusive people from the youth to help and to do more things in our society, because Taiwan is a very small world, and we hope everybody can get a very bad mental health situation and to against the discrimination and stigma, because we all live together. Okay, next. It's my share. Thanks for everybody. And now it's the time we have half an hour to share or to discuss. If anyone who want to ask question to any one of our speaker, and I have two special thank you to the Taiwan Nurse Association and the Mental Health Association in Taiwan. Without their assistance, without their help, we cannot make it this all event. And I saw the Taiwan Nurse Association have raised hand. Okay, would you please?
Yes. You guys can hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Well, first of all, I would like to thank the opportunity for Taiwan Nurse Association to join this virtual conference or this parallel meeting with CSW. And I think just listen to the everyone's presentation during today's meeting. I'm just so thankful for all the NGOs try to promote the gender equity or the gender consensus for the civil society or for specific population to provide care. So I just want to share on behalf of Taiwan Nurse Association, I'd like to thank Dr. Liu Xingyuan for her presentation and for her to share how we, in our nursing education, what we try to do to enhance our nurses' ideology or how they think about this gender equity. But I just think it's not enough for just to open one courses in certain curriculum for our nurses. As you know, that this is not a required courses in school. So not every nurses are equipped with all this kind of information. Just by listening to all our participants' presentation, like Ifan just present the care for the migrant female workers, I think all of them will have some human right to be well treated while they go to hospital. And you know, nurses are the most representative in the hospital. So if we, all the nurses, know the situation that Ifan just presented during his presentation, I think nurses will be touched and know how to treat them respectably and know how to take care of them with better respect. And Sitan's presentation also touched me too. Like you mentioned about how all the students are mistreated during their schooling. And you know, nurses are working as a school nurse too. So what I just want to say is that we can be better treated if we have all this information and if all the nurses are exposed to all this information. And the Yo-Yo just present with what you have been doing with all these several actions to enhance students' thinking about the issue. I think this is need to be generalized to all the population, not only on student. Of course, starting with student is a good idea, but all the general population need to have this kind of exposure or this kind of experience too. So I think just this is all my comment. I think I just want to explain my thanks to have the opportunity to participate. And I like to see all the growth of this kind of action together with Taiwan Nurse Association. Maybe next year or starting from today, we can think about other collaboration that we can do together. Thank you.
Thank you. And any others want to share? And last year, because last year while the attendance, let's say you always discuss about the medical care, about the doctor, but the female nurse are the one who keep coming with all the passion, all the community. Why didn't you invite some nurse to share? So this year we are also very honored to have this chance, have the discussion and the share from the Taiwan Nurse Association. Thanks for Professor Chen Junmin and Professor Liu Xinyuan again. And Professor Zhang Jue. Okay. Professor Zhang Jue.
Hi. Okay. It's a great, I think I like Professor Chen. It's a very successful panel and also need to be referenced. I'm glad today's issue is promoting the resilience, promoting mental health. So 4 of the speakers, we think about a strategy because only gender equality, then we can have mental health state situation. So those kind of issues, topics should be spread or implemented into campus. I think it's very important. So like Professor Liu mentioned about course, we asking the Ministry of Education, they should put gender equality course in their general course. Yeah, but not too many universities have like have 通识教育. Yeah, so I think in that perspective, even in Taida, right now we have the 通识教育 for gender relation a long time. But recent year we stopped 2 years or 3 years. But the student asking Professor Ye say we need to have the gender course, so they propose some content. So I think it's very challenging, very good. Thank you.
Sean from Hotline.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I just forgot to mention about the 4 reports. of our reports. So you can download from the link I just sent you to in the chat box. So it contains of the summary and full reports in Mandarin and also the full report in English. Thank you.
I have a harsh question because sometimes the people who live with HIV, they don't dare go to hospital. Usually still now in Taiwan, they will get refused. And one day I met a very young female nurse, and she almost cried. She said, "I don't dare to treat the people who live with HIV." In the first time, I don't get angry. I just, because she almost cried, I asked her, "What's wrong? Are you okay? What's wrong? Why don't you want to cry?" She said she's very scared because she don't know how can she protect herself, because in her hospital they don't give enough mask or the gloves for the young nurses. So I wonder, and I asked, why don't you ask your other senior nurse? Let's say the senior nurse say, "We're not nurse. We need to gentle. We just listen. We just do the things the senior ask us to do." I wonder, when we discuss about the nursing education, in the past time, we always say you just follow the chief, you just follow the senior. But nowadays, we also know the nurse education also have the gender inequality. We also develop a nurse who can think, who can have more empathy to the case or their patients. Okay, so it's a hard question, but let's experience made me found that not every hospital or not every place is also safe to the nurse to do their job greatly. So that's not personal issue. It's the environment. If the hospital cannot offer enough protection, or the work is too long, and so lack of the spare time, and they will very easy to have some problem. Okay, so it's my very special experience. In that time, I don't get anger to the very young female nurse. I say that's not your fault. That's our environment. That's our hospital. That's your owner or your senior should help you, not put you into the front line and suffer this mental and scary. Okay, thank you.
Well, I can reply to your comment. I do believe this happened, but I think the entire profession is improving. So our nurses know better how to fight for a safer working environment. That's the first thing I want to say. And the other thing is that maybe I would say after the 2003, after the SARS impact in Taiwan, and nurses are being better prepared for all this infectious control, or how to protect themselves and how to protect our clients too. But no, it's no exception. There's always individuals that will have their own fear for something they don't know. And that's the reason I know in most of medical center, they do have a specialized clinic for those nurses. They are better prepared and willing to take care of all the infectious disease patients. But I know it's not generalized enough. It's not available in each hospital. And this is something we need to fight all together as a society, because people have their own right to access to health care. So they should not be saying that they can only go to certain hospital for the treatment. So I think that's my reply. And I don't know whether Xingyuan has something to add too.
This experience was sad with me. Would you talk about what happened in this situation?
One of our people who live HIV, he got some problems, so he had to live in very large medical center, and in
Medical center.
the night,
Okay.
but there are very few people, and just the very young female nurse, and she cannot add any others. So she went to the bed. She went to the night, but she almost cried. So I say, that's not your question. That's not your problem. That's because your environment. That is because your senior didn't educate you, or didn't give enough protection. Not only the knowledge, also the personal advice to you. So you will feel there. Maybe you are not well prepared. So that's not your issue. That's not your problem. That is how we should find the hospital, or we have to remind the hospital. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I think this student, female student.
Yeah.
How long?
About 15 years old.
15 years old.
She said she's 护专生.
Okay.
So she is even not the high school age.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Your experience. I think the nursing education need enough teaching our students. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Professor Zhang Jue, would you like to share? Thank you.
Well, Professor Chen mentioned about the other professor, Jia Rongxie. Yeah, she liked me because she's in the YouTube, so she can listen, though she cannot speak. So I would like to say, 2 years ago, the nurse being sex harassment from the internet, and Taipei City government even say they stand by the persecutor. So that is very, very, I think maybe Professor Chen also can talk about it. So I think the nurses, not only in the hospital or in the daily life, they always sometimes will be sex harassment. And certain, or you're talking about the nurses students, they also need to prepare. They need to know what is discrimination, what is sex harassment. We need to take some action. So I think I do respect the nurse association. So maybe you can talk about some actions. We need to do that. Gender mainstreaming need to have those kind of courses. Yeah. Thank you. So Professor Xie also make a big effort to fight, but now we're still waiting for the result.
We have a lot of things can do, and can lead our youth, or not only youth, to our society. Maybe because we live in this island, we have to help each other and let no one left behind. If the last minority is also got all the all he or she or they need, and everybody is okay. So I wonder, that's why we discuss about the gender and the stigma and discrimination. But what we want to discuss is the human rights. It's not you are female, you are male, you are non-binary, you are anyone. You deserve to live with good mental health, with a good social well-being environment. So in my area, in my field, I want to create a field that can influence, can impact more youth to do the civil action with me. And also, thankful the Tongji Hotline. They do a lot of the first line, coming the hotline and to do the speech with teachers, with doctors, with social workers. They also want to share the LGBT experience to the professional. If the professional got more information, and we wonder they will do better to all their clients, all their case. And also from the Taiwan Nurse Association, they do a lot of the education work and the action to fight back to discrimination, to fight for their rights, not the right of the gender, but also their working rights. They can work with their professionality and without sexual harassment, or without, let's say, oh, you are just 护士小姐, you are 护理师, yeah, because you are professional. And also, if they focus on the migrant worker, on document migrant in Taiwan. We all in this diversity Taiwan is very small, but we have so diversity issue. And I wonder the goal is the same one. We want to Taiwan get a better Taiwan. And we want to show to our foreign friends that Taiwan can help. Taiwan have some experience, can share with you. And we also want to listen your experience, see if we can have some cooperation, to see if we can do any suggestion from you. That's very important, because Taiwan is also all around the world. Taiwan is also a nation in the world, not only because what we are. That's because who we are. Yeah. And if anyone want to share, I would. No. Okay. If now I will speak in Mandarin. 记得签到。如果有时数认证的护理学分、社工学分、公务人员时数。And now we have, yeah, we will have a photo screen. So if you want to share, you can show your face. And I have another one. And yeah, next for piece. And this one is, okay. And anyone can share. Okay. So, should we stay on? Okay. 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 GJ will take the picture for the screen. So if anyone you want to share your association, you have the right. I see the Xingyuan have the Nurse for Peace for support the Ukraine. Yeah. We no worry. Without we have to live, and we can have health situation. And mine is the situation. The youth can decide how Taiwan can become. And Sean from Hotline also show the Taiwan and the transgender campaign. And I also have a Rainbow Taiwan. Okay. Just say cheese. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Cheese. Okay. GJ, are you okay? Okay, I wonder it's okay for GJ. Okay, thank you.
贵宾有没有中华心理卫生协会的那个 mark？ 能不能把它拿出来？
心理卫生学会啊，
中华心理卫生协会。
I will
因为最近在线
I
上。
will show.
没关系。
一凡可以 show 那个海报吗？就海报最下面就有。Okay. So Professor Zhang will get the picture. Okay. So. Okay. So another picture for Professor Zhang for well, I will very honored and very grateful thanks for the Mental Health Association in Taiwan. The Professor Zhang lead me to okay. Okay, GJ, would you please? Okay. Sean is all prepared. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay.
信源那个可能要往前面一点点，要不然那个哇不行。那个我们的 Ukraine 的那个 Nurse for Peace 呈现不出来。
Okay.
不行看不到 Nurse for Peace。
Nurse for Peace. 把背景拿掉就可以。Okay. Well, 1 minute. It's okay.
One more, please.
Okay. It's work.
It's not. It's okay now.
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on, let me print screen.
Oh, okay. GJ, would you? Okay.
Great.
3, 2, 1, go.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Well done.
Thanks for everybody, and remember
Thank you,
to
Dr. Chen.
sign in.
谢谢刘老师。
Thanks for Taiwan Nurse Association， 是台湾护理协会。谢谢中华心理
老师，很高兴看到你，张老师。
记得大家
好久不
签到
见，
就是有时数认证的记得签。然后如果之后还有呢，就是 YouTube 上可以再去点啊。如果说你的朋友今天没有出现的话，记得想要去点 YouTube， 然后我们要截图来认证哦。OK，
陈教授要在护理学界
台湾
性别主流化的课程普及。
If you are in our event, you can see from the YouTube, and I will also send an email to anyone who already fill in the form, and send for anyone. Thanks for your attention.
有人现在加入。
Thank you. Okay, I will say goodbye to everybody.
拜，张老师，好久没看到你。
就是说，呀，透过这个很开心。
是，今天看到你非常高兴。
谢谢东泰，你们组合这个。
对，谢谢我们这个我们理事长给我这个机会。
谢谢梁老师。
好，拜拜。
好，拜拜。